What's up all you lads and ladies? Welcome to another fascinating video in the world of comedy and Reddit. If you liked the video, post your favorite Reddit comment below, and I'll give you a shout out in my next video. Thanks to Mary Louie in my last video who commented that she liked my video about Rage Against the Machine getting banned from SNL. Hope you enjoy this video about the $74 billion Pentagon budget. 60 plus groups demand Senate pass Sanders' amendment to slash out of control Pentagon budget by $74 billion. So much of the Pentagon's budget is unaccounted for in Afghanistan. I still can't believe that $74 billion is only 10%. That's a ridiculous amount of money. I think 10% is a good start. But we can probably go much further. We should start with a thorough audit, and if the Pentagon says no, we should just say, well, if you can't be audited, then you can't be funded, and slash its insanely wasteful budget by a large percentage. They've been audited for the past 2 years. Each has shown a vast level of incompetent and mishandled contracts, lost funds and equipment, and outdated goods, among other things. Part of the funding in the latest years was earmarked to modernize every branch's inventory system to keep better track of what is going on. More than 60 progressive advocacy groups representing millions of members across the US are pressuring senators to pass an amendment led by Sen. Bernie Sanders that would cut the proposed Pentagon budget by 10% and redirect the $74 billion in savings toward funding healthcare, education, jobs, and housing in impoverished and neglected communities. I can't imagine all the good that money could do if it was poured back into the communities and American people. I mean, it slash the budget by half and give every American a portion of it, and it would still be a better investment. Funnily enough, if we cut the Pentagon's $740 billion in half, take that $370 billion and divide it by our 328 million population, you get about $1,130. So basically another round of stimulus checks. Even more, considering that population number includes minors and others that wouldn't receive it. They should axe the idea that if you don't spend it all of your budget, you get less next year. Anecdotally, I read that they waste so much on just that every year. It's true. My unit would blow money on anything. Fans, boards, notebooks, tools that weren't needed. Anything the shops wanted in order to spend the whole budget. Just so it wouldn't be decreased. Really changed my view on budget bloat. Metal's tech shop at one of my old bases filled the rest of their budget up with an 85 inches TV that barely gets watched. Fact: our military spends more than the next top 10 militaries in the world do combined. Well, Congressman A needs to vote yeah on this spending bill so Contractor X can sell to the army a new type of buckle that only rusts on odd-numbered days that will be manufactured in middle of nowhere, SD, so Congressman A can get re-elected. The Senate will not allow this to pass. However, it should be another stick to beat each and every weak cowardly GOP Senate member up for re-election. They have enabled and run interference for Trump. They have not removed McConnell. They have openly laughed in contempt at the idea of hurting US citizens. They are likely compromised by Russia through funding through the NRA and super PACs that I bet Putin has the receipts for, and by proxy, Trump has. Let alone the GOP hack that was never released. Frick these frikers to the bin of history, America. I always laugh when Reddit tries to tell me but both parties are the same. Maintaining a strong military to protect the country is an important responsibility of the federal government, but so is building a strong, equitable society worth fighting to protect. America has the strongest military in the world, but the most inequitable society with the weakest social safety net, educational system and infrastructure among the developed world. It's past time to correct that. Maybe allocate some funding to education? Just a thought. Exactly what they don't want. A highly educated population. Much easier to control idiots. I wish we had a military similar to Japan. A small, well-trained and well-equipped purely defensive force. Just cutting the Pentagon's budget won't do anything. They will continue to spend on F-35s and B-2s. This will just cut spending to important it like the VA. The whole system needs restructuring. The government are being gouged, and Lockheed and Boeing have them by the throat. Honestly, why do we need a standing army of 500k soldiers, 500k drilling reserves and guard, plus 185k marines? The Air Force and Navy are much easier to justify due to their missions, long lead times on planes, ships, training, readiness, plus their ability to influence geopolitics. We're gonna file this under not likely. A huge amount of the Pentagon's funding is overspending on military industrial contracts that create jobs in the districts and states of representatives and senators from both sides of the aisle. Note, this isn't a both sides argument, so lower your pitchforks. They order tanks and planes even they say they don't need, just so someone can be employed to build them. So let me ask you this. If the job you do serves no purpose to society other than to be a job, which is how Americans measure their entire self-worth, Charles Koch, for all his pure, dripping evil, is not wrong or alone in his assessment that human beings possess no intrinsic value beyond their bank accounts. I bet you a majority of Americans feel the same way if you word it in a less evil and obvious way. Then why should that job even exist? We have reached a stage in technological evolution where many jobs simply aren't necessary, just make work, and so many more are being automated away. We are rapidly approaching a watershed in our cultural evolution in America where we are going to have to decide whether our entire reason for existence is to do a job in order to survive, or whether we should be looking towards a solution where working and surviving are tied together. Free people up to do things that actually contribute to society and the well-being of Americans. Think about that guy in Warren. Am I putting tanks together so he has a paycheck to buy groceries for his kids? We don't need those tanks. The Pentagon doesn't want them. But some rep or senator needs to get re-elected, so the Pentagon is funded to buy them. That guy needs that paycheck from building those unneeded and unwanted tanks so he can survive. Suppose he's a really talented painter, or rapper, or enjoys entertaining sick children in hospitals, and is good at it? Suppose he could stop building useless tanks without worrying about how he's going to survive. Suppose how much good he could do, how much happiness he could bring to people's lives, if he didn't have to spend 8 or 10 hours a day putting together tanks that nobody is ever going to drive. Imagine if we could build fewer missiles, fewer planes, fewer warships, and instead train more diplomats, interpreters, goodwill ambassadors, and send those people overseas before it becomes necessary to send drones and guided missile cruisers. I am not even saying that a military budget vastly exceeding the rest of the world's is unnecessary. A somewhat well-known historical figure once said, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." Not every country in the world is going to play nice. A huge and well-trained military is a deterrent. But so is speaking softly, the carrot before the stick. The world is changing, whether the fossils in power want to believe it or not. They were schoolchildren in the 1950s during the era of duck and cover and a communist in every bush and behind every tree. They were teenagers when the idea of being able to pull a glowing rectangle out of your pocket and talk to a friend in Tokyo was something Captain Kirk did on Wednesday nights. And, like fossils, they have ossified in those positions. Cut spending on things the Pentagon doesn't actually need, and improve the efficiency and oversight of spending on the things they do need. And you'll find there's a lot of money that can be freed up for spending on things like education and healthcare and social safety nets. Because whether these fossils want to believe it or not, we are very rapidly approaching the cliff where there simply won't be enough jobs for 320 million Americans to survive, and there are no brakes on this thing. It would seem to the average American that military spending happened due to Pearl Harbor, then 9/11. In reality, those two accounted for 5,380 deaths total. We have 128,000 deaths this year from corona so far. A hell of a lot of good damn military is when we put everyone out of work and don't have healthcare aside from through work. Reducing the Pentagon budget by 10% would be a fantastic start. Highly doubt it gets passed. The mic stronger partisan support. Senate. Larson McConnell. Make sure to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell like it owes you money. Remember to post your favorite comment from the video in the comment section below for a chance to be featured in my next video. I hope you enjoyed this fantastic video and I hope you are all staying safe. Show a small channel some love by liking and subscribing. Take care. Hip hip cheerio. Much love from me, Matt British.